If you're a business owner who knows you're the smartest person in the room, but you're wondering why you're stuck at a glass ceiling while others seem to scale effortlessly, this is for you. So I've spent thousands of hours in the chair coaching world elites and helping generate tens of millions in revenue. I learned the hard way, shifting from a construction site to the global peak performance stage, that internal limits are the only real limits. You can't build a limitless business or life on limited software or limited hardware. Today, we're breaking down your natural behavioral blueprint. We're going to look at why your natural strengths, whether you're a bulldozer, a people pleaser, a peacekeeper, or an analyst, are actually creating the crack in the foundations of your operating system. Here's the breakthrough for you today. Your behavioral style is not your identity. It is just your current setting that has got you to today and what you've been wired and conditioned to behave like. Most entrepreneurs fail because they try to do more without changing their behavioral style, without being who they need to be. Remember, 73% of people quit because they build on a foundation of feelings rather than the data of how they actually show up. So now I'm going to introduce you to the 4 different behavioral styles. And as you listen to these, I just want you to think to yourself, either A, oh my God, this is me, and identify yourself and label yourself, or B, just think of someone you know who is like this, because then you'll learn them faster and quicker. So your first style is known as the bulldozer. The reason why I call them the bulldozers is because these guys are natural born leaders, but they're very abrupt. Their dominant emotion is anger and frustration, and that's how they get results, because their biggest fear is wasting time. So because they don't waste time, they're very impatient, which makes them natural result drivers. Now your bulldozer leaders, which are also known officially as high Ds in the behavioral style world, these guys are a cross between a bulldozer and a laser. What they will do when they want a result is they will move heaven and earth to get things done. But they don't always have the facts, they don't always have the awareness, they don't always have the data. So what happens is they fly into something, they shit on everything, and then they take off. Or they'll end up running enthusiastically in the wrong direction. So they're going to be the type of person that's going to hit 10 times and they're going to get the result because they did the quantity of action versus, waiting and planning and scheduling. So what happens is their strengths means they can take charge. They're very competitive. They can ensure and drive bottom line results. They can also juggle multiple high stakes projects at once because they are very visionary. They can always see beyond the current moment, and they know exactly what it feels like to keep going until the job is done, not just by doing the work. They don't care about doing the work. They will get the job done. If you're a high D or a bulldozer, you're very quick to delegate, but you're very slow to instruct. So people often don't really know what you actually want from them, but they're just going to say, yes, I understand you, because they want to avoid the conflict. And what that also means for you, if you're a high D leader or if you're a bulldozer, is you're going to lack diplomacy a little bit, because you're just going to get very pissed off very, very quickly, because you're now wondering, well, why didn't I ask questions? When really and truly people are scared of you. That's why I didn't ask questions. So high Ds are always interesting because they only care about the results. What they'll do is they'll shut down conversations. They can be very blunt, and they don't really care about the emotional responses of their team. If the team is slowing them down, what they will do is that they'll let that person either go, or they'll just let them know that they're not going to cut it. They have to speed up. So what do you do if you are a bulldozer? So number one is you want to show 10% more patience to your team, to your staff, to your family, to your spouse. Just because someone isn't running as fast as you are, it doesn't mean that they're stupid. They're just naturally running at a different pace. Number 2, which will avoid you a lot of frustration moving forward, is just make sure you clarify and verify with people you're speaking to that they actually understood what you are saying, not just saying yes because they're afraid of you. And another thing is be very specific when you are instructing people, because high Ds have the tendency to speak with a lot of generalities, and generality kills clarity. So now we're going to transition into the second style, which we're going to call the pleaser, or the people pleaser, also known as the high I, someone who's highly influential, the promoter, you can call it. Now, the I's are very similar to the D's in the sense that these two people are very extroverted. They're very outgoing. They're very extroverted. They're going to speak their mind. They're not afraid to do that. The only difference between the high I, though, and the high D is the D is all about dominance and getting the result done, and that's their biggest goal. They don't care about your feelings. High I's, on the other hand, are great. Firstly, everyone's great. They are very gregarious. They're very charismatic. They're very outgoing. They want everyone to be their friend. And the way that they differ from the Ds is they're extroverted, but they're very communication driven. They're very relationship driven. And their dominant emotion is optimism. And their biggest fear is breaking the social connection, which then naturally gives them that name, the pleaser, because these guys want you to be their friend, so they're going to not be as candid or as blunt as a high D. And the advantages of high Is is they think very fast on their feet, they're very verbally persuasive, and they're ultimately going to be promoting themselves, ideas, other people, and they're going to be the life of the party. The other thing about high Is, or the people pleasers, which I call them, or the promoters, is they're very overly liberal with saying yes. They're going to say yes to too many things, which makes them very fun to be around. They're always going to have loads of fun, loads of experience, but at the same time, they can get very overwhelmed very, very quickly because they say yes to too many things. They spread themselves too thin without having a structure. And because they're afraid of breaking the social connection, which is why they say yes in the first place, what ends up happening is they avoid difficult conversations, or what they'll do is they'll water down the conversation to the point where the person they're speaking to does not get the message. So the message is lost in translation. If you're a high I, or if you're a promoter or a people pleaser, you're also great at starting things but terrible at finishing things. So you get really excited, start something, and then find something else. Get really excited, start something, and then find something else. And what you'll benefit a lot from is actually finishing what you start. Something that's going to really benefit you if you consider yourself the promoter is you want to protect saying yes. So you want to use the leverage of no to create the mental capacity that you want and need to create a limitless life. Otherwise, you're living everyone else's life, and that's why you get really stressed out. So stop trying to be liked and start being candid. So now we're going to start to come into the second two behavioral styles. While the bulldozer and the promoter leak energy through speed, the analyst and the peacekeeper, these guys hit their ceiling through pace and perfectionism. So as we get into the steadiness score, or what we're going to call the peacekeeper, their benefits is they are loyal as F. They're going to listen to you all day. They're going to listen to everyone on the team. They are elite at coordinating others. Their challenge, though, is they hate making big decisions because their biggest fear is things changing without them having a plan. So as a result, they lack that sense of urgency, and they'd rather do the work than delegate to someone else because they don't like having that conversation. Some of the things that you want to do is you want to be more self-promoting. You want to use your voice. You want to express your emotions before your long fuse runs out. So the thing about high S is they're very loyal. Their dominant emotion is that they're calm, they're cool, they're collected on the outside. But on the inside, they're super, super sensitive. And then what that does then is it creates a very long fuse. And you could be upsetting someone who's a peacekeeper and you'll never know. But then one day it'll be like the straw that broke the camel's back and you'll be like, whoa, that's an overreaction. But the truth is they're reacting to everything you've said and done in the past that they haven't said anything about. So if this is you, then you want to speak as you go along, speak your opinion. But if you know someone who's like this, you want to make sure you're enabling them to get things off their chest because they're not going to tell you. They're very loyal. They're all about keeping the peace. They always want to keep harmony in the place. And then the last style is what we're going to call the analyst. The analyst is what we're going to call the fixer. They have an insane level of attention to detail. They're all about accuracy. They're all about attention to detail. Their gold standard is making sure they have a plan and they have the data and the facts for everything. These guys are amazing problem solvers. Their challenge, though, or their opportunity for growth is, because their dominant emotion is fear and their biggest fear is being wrong, they struggle in unpredictable environments and they get stuck in analysis paralysis while everybody else, their competitors, taking risks, they're just there, not making any decisions because they don't want to make the wrong decision. So here's a great example. I worked with someone who's a high C or an analyst founder. And they're always focused on every single detail being available and correct. And they always wanted to have a plan. They had spreadsheets upon spreadsheets upon spreadsheets. And by the time they made the decision was too late. And as a result, they lost on a massive deal that I can't disclose how much. But because by the time they made the decision, it was too late. The deal was off the table. So the thing that you can do if you are an analyst is you want to set a deadline by which you need to make a decision regardless of what information you have or you don't have. And obviously there's ways to get the information, but you need to set deadlines for your decisions. Most business owners think that they're just like this. And if you've identified yourself as one of these styles, that's it. It's a life sentence. But the truth is, what we really want to do is we want to understand that your style is your conditioning. It's your choice. And to achieve any limitless results in your life, you must now become the leader that your future business requires before you have that freedom. So if you identified yourself as a bulldozer, don't think it's any easier for someone who's an analyst to meet you where you are. If you have someone who's a spouse or a friend or a colleague or a staff member who is an analyst and you're a bulldozer, it's your responsibility and you're very able to align with them before you try to redirect them. Because you might be going too fast for that person, but it's easy for you to slow down. Now, if on the contrary, you are an analyst and you're dealing with someone who's a bulldozer, it's on you, it's your responsibility, and it's your ability to build up that willingness to speed up so that you can influence this person here, that you can now start to share a more fruitful relationship. So where you are today might not be your fault due to your conditioning and how you got here, but it is your responsibility and it is your problem. So what you want to do is start to align with others around you by taking one moment to think about what you want to do or what you want to achieve from this relationship and who you have to be in order to have that relationship. So for the next 24 hours after listening to this, intentionally operate from your opposite quadrant if you're around those people. So if you're a bulldozer, be a peacekeeper. If you're a perfectionist, be a pleaser or be a promoter. Exercise that mental capacity to align and redirect others. If you're ready to stop being a seagull leader and you want to shatter your mental limits in a one-to-one capacity, send me a message and we'll have a conversation and we'll see how we can help you. And lastly, I just want to remind you that I believe that business owners who want to grow their income while working less should prioritize shattering their mental limits first over traditional skill acquisition. I'll see you next time and stay limitless.